We'll call to order the Village Council meeting of July 23rd, 2024. And we'll begin as we usually do. We'll have an invocation from Reverend Stillman, our neighbor at the Trinity Fellowship Church right down the street. And it'll be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance. It's going to be led by Will Simmons, a 7th grader and Pinehurst resident at O'Neill School. So, Reverend Stillman.
Will you join me in prayer? In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, God of all nations and peoples, this evening you bless us with gifts of life and health, love and friendship, wisdom and inspiration. Despite our differences, you have gathered us here to work for the improvement of our community. We thank you for your grace and for the labor of those who have made themselves available for the benefit of their neighbors. Where we are ignorant, enlighten us. Where we are prideful, humble us. Where we are weak, strengthen us. Where we are broken, heal us. We pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ, who for our sakes, though he was rich, he became poor. Amen.
Thank you. Will Simmons.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Will. All righty, we will begin as we usually do with reports, and we'll turn to the village manager, Jeff Sanborn. Anything you'd like?
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but we do have U.S. Kids coming back to town next week. It's always a big event around here. That kicks off with the parade on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and then the tournament and play will continue through the weekend. So hope everybody has a good time with that.
Good, thank you. I just have three short items. In the past 2 weeks, I and many of my colleagues attended the two of the Department of Transportation public meetings on the Pinehurst Traffic Circle, and there's having another one tonight, their third, and we later will be talking about that at length as a separate agenda on our item on our agenda. But they were widely attended, and look forward to discussing that. Secondly, apropos to that, yesterday we received a letter or email from the Southern Pines Garden Club addressed to the members of this council and the members of the Southern Pines Town Council and to the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And I'll read a couple of sentences from it. The Southern Pines Garden Club believes fervently that the NCDOT's plan would be devastating to Pinehurst and her surrounding community. Ripping out the current traffic circle and paving it with asphalt and the accompanying maze of lanes and traffic lights will mar the beauty of the town so many of us call home and change our appearance forever. It's been submitted by the Southern Pines Garden Club, signed by President Elizabeth Webster. So put that for the record. And lastly, last week I had the opportunity to attend a briefing by the, I'll call it the leadership of Fort Liberty. They hosted it for the municipal leaders of Moore County, and it was held at the Moore County Courthouse in Carthage. It was very informative. I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned is that even though those of us here just refer to the village manager as Jeff Sanborn, that when he walked in that room, he was Colonel Sanborn. I just want to let you know that. All the folks in uniform, it was like old home week. So anyway, it was a good event, and the Fort Liberty, their leadership that's taking over now, obviously is a group we'll be able to work with down the road. So look forward to that. Dr. Morgan.
Just a short one here. Typically give kudos on the reports, but I want to give kudos to our citizens. The representation that occurred in the meetings, specifically the first meeting that was held at Pinehurst Elementary, was outstanding, and it's been reported on in the pilot. But it's going to have effect. We'll talk about that more later. But to our citizens, way to go.
John?
Yeah, I attended both the Pinehurst and the Carthage DOT presentations. I would echo Jeff Morgan. Democracy is not just about showing up on election day. it's a lot more it works better when citizens remain actively involved. I thought it was a terrific turnout there. I thought it was a pretty good turnout up in Carthage, and to the extent that there weren't quite as many people there, those who turned up probably had a little better opportunity to really engage with the engineers from DOT. I think we're going to talk a little bit more later in the presentation, or in our meeting, about our reaction, so I'll just stop there.
Okay, thank you. Barb Ficklin.
Well, I too attended the DOT presentation at Pinehurst Elementary, and I too want to thank all the people who came out and stood in 100-degree heat in a very long line to get in, and many were disappointed because there was no presentation. Although I have heard many of you got a chance to talk to DOT representatives, which was great. But anyway, our thanks, and more to come on that topic. Thank you.
Jack.
Second on the comments on the NCDOT meeting at the Pinehurst Elementary, I thought it was very interesting. With regards to Fort Liberty, now that you mention it, being on the board of directors now that Mr. Sanborn, Colonel Sanborn, has relinquished his position as chair of the board of directors, and I'm sitting in now. Pretty big shoes to fill, although I'm not chair. I did attend the board of directors meeting over at Spring Lake a few weeks ago, where we reviewed the financials and the status and the budget. This is the Fort Liberty Regional Land Use Advisory Commission, which is chartered with reviewing land use decisions in adjoining municipalities and counties to see whether there could be any impact on the mission and or environmental concerns in Fort Liberty. So it's a very important commission in my opinion. The commission reviewed about 125 land use proposals in the second quarter of 2024 from some of the 8 counties and 15 municipalities whose land use decisions may affect the base. And we also planned the general meeting for August. You're welcome, obviously, Jeff. They expressed a good deal of interest. We expressed a good deal of interest in staying on top of the land use plan as being developed by Moore County, as it may or may not affect the mission at Fort Liberty. So very interesting there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Jack, if I could ask one follow-up. One of the DOT people with whom I spoke sometime in the last 2 weeks talked about plans to expand the number of people resident in the Camp McCall area and possible need for road development down there. Did that come up in, that may not even be in
It has come up in the past, particularly, and Jeff, you can elaborate on this, where the Duke Power is proposing and will build cell towers at their stations nearby Camp McCall, and the question was, and whether or not that would impact the airspace and the flight patterns, because Camp McCall is used quite frequently. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, I think they were able to resolve those questions, but the question did also come up in the briefing that Patrick and I got from the new garrison commander a week or two ago. And they didn't give us any details, but they did suggest that there are going to be some future changes that are going to create some more permanent military presence at Camp McCall.
Right.
Okay. Right. Other
Right.
questions, comments? No. Okay. All right, we'll go on to motion, item 4, motion to approve consent agenda. I think I noted to my colleagues the item 3B, or item B on the consent agenda, which is the end of year summary reports for the police and the fire departments. In past meetings, we've had a presentation. They walked us through their reports. I don't know if they're prepared to do that tonight. The police or fire chief. I don't see Glenn, so
I think Derek did come tonight in case you had questions. Of course, you know, the past precedence was it was always in the consent agenda. And one of you asked to have it pulled out of the consent agenda the last time we did this. We didn't recognize that was intended to be a new precedent.
Yeah. Right. Well, I just think it's because public safety is our number one responsibility as a village council and all. I just think it's good for us and for our residents to hear firsthand from the leadership of the two key public safety organizations, our fire department and our police department, to walk us through that data. So if we want to just move that and place it on a separate item to next week, next council meeting, that would be fine with me.
Or you could add it for this evening as well and take care of the fire part of it.
We could do that, but I think I find it useful when both the fire and the police department are together.
Okay.
If it's okay with everyone here, we'll just move it to the next meeting.
I wouldn't have any problem approving the reports as part of the consent agenda, but I would like to hear a presentation of them.
I'm fine with that. We can do that, and then we will just place this items separately for a presentation in 2 weeks. Is that okay? Consensus there? Okay. We will leave it there, and then we will add the appropriate item to the next council meeting agenda. Excuse me, all the items listed below are considered routine or have been discussed at length in previous meetings and will be enacted by one motion. No separate discussion will be held unless requested by a member of the village council. So the items are the approval of village council meeting minutes, and that includes the July 9th regular meeting, July 9th work session, July 9th closed session, and the year-end summary reports that we just referenced, and the budget amendments report. So, do I have a motion?
I move to approve all the items listed and considered routine on the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we've adopted that. And that ends the consent agenda. Now we go to the public comments. I don't know if and anybody who has not signed up yet, when we hear from the folks who have signed up, you're welcome to indicate that you'd like to speak. First person is Colette Helasty. Yes, okay, Colette. 25 Queen Court.
Right, 25 Queens Court, Kalinsky. I am not a lawyer. Info presented is from extensive research on potential replacement of Pinehurst Landmark Traffic Circle with a CFI or continuous flow intersection. I mentioned to NCDOT reps at the 2 meetings last week emails that were sent to the Federal Highway Transportation System Administration about the negatives of the circle replacement. NCDOT reps responded that the FHWA focuses on highways only. Yes, the 2015 infrastructure bill did focus on highways projects between $50 and $100 million, but the National Highway Roadway Safety Strategy as part of the 2021 bipartisan infrastructure law includes highways, bridges, state and local roads, bike paths, and even pedestrian trails. The goal is for 0 fatalities on all of the above. The FHWA states responsibility to reach these goals rests not just in all governments, entities, advocacy groups, but traveling public. Objectives include automatic braking systems and finding and funding for speed cameras. Also, MPO project design involvement is important. However, after attending the newly formed Moore County MPO presentation by the NCDOT on CFI proposal, I was left wondering, was this a NCDOT administrative push, possibly to qualify for 2024 federal funding? Was this a push by selective MPO committee members, seeing this as a path to their growth agenda? Or were other outlying community members, did they understand that removing the circle for future questionable growth was equal to a Western Connector or future questionable growth through roads transecting their farmlands and equestrian lands? I also wondered if a committee in Pinehurst citizens could file an IAR. It's an interior approval request with the FHWA to consider modifying circle, not replacing it. Suggested contacts besides the HWA office could include the infrastructure office or the council office. If FHWA's goal is 0 fatalities, how could a CFI even be considered? After research several interchange reports on safety, a CFI originally patented in 1995 has for multiple level roads, when applied to a single level road, has many issues, mainly the displacement of flow delays and crashes upstream and downstream of the main intersection. Another major issue is when the left lane crossover merges into the fast lane, especially with increased red light runners. According to April 2024 NCDOT crash maps, Pinehurst Circle in 10 years has reported 0 fatalities and severe crashes. The only CFI in North Carolina, open in Huntersville in 2021, has already experienced both fatal and severe crashes. When NCDO is pushed for answers, they say Pinehurst is a circle, it is not a roundabout, because it's 600-foot diameter. The circle opened in 1950. The first roundabout was patented in 1966. The main reason is because circles originally allowed the right-of-way to entering traffic, where roundabouts, when they were patented, gave way to traffic in the circle.
Colette, can you wrap it up?
Sure.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Bruce Geddes.
Good evening, Bruce Geddes. I live in the Pinehurst CTJ. I want to first thank you for your comments about citizen engagement. I wrote an email this afternoon to all of you, and I want to make a few points for the record this evening. I have a written copy I'd like to give the village clerk when I'm done. So I'm writing this email on behalf of the thousands who have engaged on this issue, using social media, face-to-face. I'm a member of a team. Joanne Valdez, Lynn Hutaf, Shar Rohr, Natalie Heiler, and myself have been engaging as many citizens as we can find in Pinehurst and among our neighbors in southern Moore County and Moore County at large. We understand that we're not the only users of the circle, but we are reaching out to as many as we can. So to date, now our campaign is not going to stop today. We're going to continue until the final decision is made one way or another. But to date, our online petition, and you can see the link in my email to you all, has received close to 2,300 signatures. That's not trivial. In online social media campaigns for a local issue, that's a significant number. We have a paper petition. A lot of our residents still like paper and pencil or pen. We've received 322 signatures through face-to-face interactions with countless hours of many members of our community reaching out to friends and neighbors to sign a paper petition. We've submitted the signature list from the online petition at change.org to NCDOT at the last 2 public meetings with updates as we go. And we've also submitted the paper petitions, and this evening, 2 members of our team are at Aberdeen. They'll be there shortly, and they're going to submit more of the paper petitions as we go. Our Facebook campaign includes 2 videos of homeowners that are affected by eminent domain, Jerry Dellis and Jennifer Zarowski. You can see the links in my email to you all. I encourage you to please watch those videos. They're serious and they're moving, okay? I mean moving in the sense of emotionally moving. We hope they'll never have to move. Our Facebook campaign is targeted to everyone within a 15-mile radius of the Pinehurst Circle. On Facebook, you can actually put a pin on a map and draw a line, a radius around the people you want to reach. So imagine that 15-mile radius around the circle itself as the center, of this campaign. We've reached over 30,000 people. Now, on Facebook, I get to see the analytics. We're seeing numbers that far exceed your own election campaigns. I've seen some of the analytics of your own election campaigns. We're seeing an order of magnitude higher result in analytics. I'm surprised. I'm astounded at how much this issue has energized our base. So please watch those videos. I also posted the videos and several posts on Nextdoor. That's reached thousands. I'm getting emails from Nextdoor telling us that our campaign is exceeding anything they've seen in our local area. And we've got people organically reposting on Nextdoor, people we don't even know are finding the petition, and they themselves are putting it, the petition on our webpage, pinehurstcircle.org, on Nextdoor. So this organic reaction is astounding. Numerous residents have posted yard signs, and we still get requests for more signs. Okay, you can see the signs around town that say, improve the circle, don't destroy it, with a reference to our website at pinehurstcircle.org. Now, with respect to the public meetings, we've had well over 1,000 turnout, and I appreciate your comments, I appreciate your observations. We believe that the word of mouth, the social media campaigns, Nextdoor, Facebook, YouTube, the petition, and the website.
Bruce, the council is going to discuss the NCDOT meetings separately later in the evening.
Okay, well, I'm just making a public comment in that
Okay.
regard.
Just move
That we believe the social media and the face-to-face and the engagements have really made a significant difference in that turnout. So the bottom line is, the taxpayers are footing the bill for any changes proposed by NCDOT. As you can see in my email to you all, Moore County taxpayer voices are loud and clear. We urge you to cite the results of this campaign in a resolution that calls for NCDOT to improve the Pinehurst Circle, not destroy it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who would like to speak tonight? Yes, in the back. Please state your name and go right ahead.
My name is Alana Romero. I'm over at 105 Lake Forest Drive Southwest, over by the lake. I did attend, or I attempted to attend, the Pinehurst Elementary School. The line was over an hour long. I got there at 4:47, so 15 minutes early. It was 105 degrees, and I brought my daughter with me, we couldn't stand out in the heat, so it was a bit of a failure. I know I talked to people online and heard them upset that by the time they even got in the door, there were no surveys, there were, not really anyone to talk to. So there were a lot of unhappy people. I went to the Carthage and I did speak to several of the DOT representatives. I brought up my concern about their projecting the population growth out 30 years. I did express reasons as to why I had said going past 10 years is a number you just can't grasp. I asked them what models they were using, and they did agree that the larger model scales they use are based off the same models used in larger cities like Chicago, LA, and New York. And I did bring up the point that a lot of those cities not only missed their projected population growth when they did theirs, they actually are in the negative. There was comments brought up that, well, they all came here, and while that might be true right now, we don't have the infrastructure as Raleigh does even. I asked the county commissioner and a DOT representative what they thought all these people coming here might do business-wise, and they said, well, a lot of them are coming down from Raleigh because they want to live in Moore County. And I said, well, why do they want to live here? And he said, well, because it's beautiful. Well, it is. It's beautiful. It's beautiful right now. And there are a lot of people I know up in Raleigh and Cary who enjoy the rural aspect of Moore County, but I can guarantee you that if we start deconstructing all that, as much as I love Moore County, there's nothing here. There's hospitality, there's military, and as the commissioner pointed out to me, we have the hospital. Yes, we have the hospital, but UNC and Duke are always going to be bigger. And the idea that we're trying to change a traffic circle based on a projected maybe population growth is just kind of dumbfounding to me. The domino effect that it'll cause is it'll cause traffic to head down to Beulah. Then we'll be expanding that. Then they'll be saying we need to split that into a 4-lane road. And I mean, it's just a domino effect of edging out the village of Pinehurst. I would consider that from the people that I've talked to, the concern is growing that if we allow the traffic circle to take the hit, we're going to lose the beauty and the history that we had here. And there are a lot of people saying that it is going to affect their decision-making come the next election, not just for commissioner, but for our local village team as well. So I think it is of grave concern. I did see on the poster board that they had some very other nice options, like a tunnel or the signaling in. I don't really understand why they're all moving forward with this giant, large issue. But I think it would be in the board's best interest to consider that this decision is not only hinging for traffic, but the progression of the village and their term in council.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Yes.
Hi, Lynn Goldhammer, 11 Salem Lane, Pinehurst. I'm so glad that we're having this little discussion because each person that gets up, I hear another thing and I'm like, oh, that's good, you know? And to me, that's like the most frustrating part of when I went to Carthage and to the Pinehurst Elementary School, expecting that there was going to be a discussion where we could hear each other's ideas, and there wasn't. It was just walk around and go to different pieces, and you can give your comments, but nobody there was going to hear them. And I thought that was really a missed opportunity. And it seemed like basically the states made up their mind that they're going to do this, and we really weren't getting a say. We were just getting the impression we were getting a say. And I want to say one of the scariest parts of that is the state seems to have more power than the county and the towns. And I think that's quite unfortunate to give them more power than we, the local taxpayers that live with the circle, get to say. I wanted to also mention, like, we were talking about we should be looking at what would the future of this area be, and you can't always tell. And I think there's a strong thing to remember in that, because we seem to go through these stages where cities go from being great to being horrible. And they come back up and they get horrible. When they get horrible, people leave, and that's what's happening now. And even, I mean, it used to be all, you know, people from the Northeast moving down here. I meet more people coming in from California, Seattle, Oregon, because they destroyed those areas already. I was living there when the cost of housing quadrupled in 4 years. And it was, now all the 10 cities they have, that's from what they did. Okay. And they're repeating that everywhere, including here. And I think there's no telling if we start having improved cities, you'd find, especially improved cost of living in cities, I think you'll find a lot of people in this area going back. I know when I left New Jersey, I can't go back there now. If it goes down in price, though, I'd love to go back. I also wanted to share, as we're looking about all these different things, that Shifted Pillow, when I watched a video there, it looked like a horrific Washington, D.C. intersection that could not be figured out. It was really confusing. And I just want to say that I think I'd like to see us keep it, but maybe an option could be an overpass or a tunnel underneath. And I just wanted to say, with looking at the possibility of a bridge over, when I was in the Coast Guard, I participated in a bridge replacement project that took place over the course of approximately 8 days, I think it was. And what they did is they built the bridge in different locations. They floated them down the river with a safety zone, a vessel-enforced safety zone around each barge, brought them down and put them in place in a bridge. A whole bridge was installed in just over a week rather than over the course of several years. So
that was quite an accomplishment, Lynn. But,
yes.
Would you wrap up?
Well, I just also want to say about the people from Raleigh coming down here. When I first moved here, I went up to Raleigh one day, and I thought, what a nice little city. I could see moving here. And as I was driving home, I was listening to a radio station where people were calling in about, what are your thoughts about installing a light rail system? And people were calling in, and then the DJ said, well, you do realize they expect the population here to quadruple within 10 years, don't you? And I'm afraid that's what they had. and it trickles down here. And I went to a meeting here with some local people called Partners in Progress, where it seems each town is paying them to basically progress us. And the woman there was going about, 30, 40 years ago, there was only 60,000 people here. And now there's over 100,000. And by 2050, we expect it to be over 150. And because we are over 100,000, we are now considered an urban area. And I said, did you ask us if we want that? And basically, these people are working behind our backs to create what's happening here, to promote Moore County all over the country and to get people to move here to have a nice quality of life. And we seem to be paying them to do that. And I'm wondering how much is the town of Pinehurst paying them? Now they're called the Economic Development Committee, or something along that line. But how much are we, the taxpayers, paying them to exist, to do something that we don't want?
Good question. Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else who'd like to make a comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public comment period. And we will move on to item 6, which deals with ordinances. 6A specifically is amending Ordinance 24-13, amending the Library Expansion Capital Project Fund. Dana, please.
Good afternoon, Council. So we have a budget amendment we're requesting for the library project to cover any additional expenditures we may need for design work that's not related to the Oakley Collier contract. This is something that it was an oversight on my part when I submitted the prior one, thinking that there may be these types of expenditures that come up that we would need additional budget for design work related to that. So this is just, we're not increasing the budget at this time, just a transfer between the line items in the budget. To prevent in the future for having to come to council for small adjustments, relatively small adjustments to the budget, I do propose in this ordinance giving the village manager the authority to approve this type of transfer up to $10,000 within the capital project fund and providing an official report to council when that is done at the next regular meeting.
Yeah. What is the current approval range threshold? How does this work?
With the annual budget ordinance, which does not cover this capital project fund, has a $25,000 threshold. Given the smaller budget, I felt a lower threshold of $10,000 would be more appropriate.
Oh, okay, you want to drop the threshold. There is authority now.
Not within the capital project fund. The $25,000 that's in the annual budget ordinance only applies to the general fund.
Okay.
This does not change the overall planned expenditure. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this new threshold would be 10,000, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And is that 10,000 one time or 10,000 per occurrence of something like this coming up?
Per occurrence. And council would receive a report. If it were something larger that was needed, that would need to come to council for a formal amendment like this for an ordinance.
Can you sketch out the types of expenses that you had not previously anticipated that may not be covered by the contract with Oakley Collier?
Yeah. If there's surveys, Doug, do you know of anything else?
It could be like a geotechnical report, but the issue that happened was a survey.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Site surveys, tree surveys, et cetera. Okay.
and the precise amount here is 9,100, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would, it's not the exact cost of one specific item that's needed, but just to provide some additional dollars in the design budget for small expenditures that may come up that are outside the scope of the design contract with Oakley Collier.
Other questions from council members on this topic?
No, the important thing is it doesn't change the overall plan at this point in time. I mean, when we receive bids, then we'll have a real plan.
What,
yes.
What type of mechanism would the council have sort of a notification mechanism or something that, so when the village manager is going to do this, is there, there's a difference between approval and just information, and I guess information would be fine if that's going to be built into this.
Yes, so the way it's written in the ordinance is exactly like the budget transfers that the village manager is authorized to do in the general fund, where anything over the $10,000 threshold anything under the $10,000 threshold that the village manager approves, there will be an official budget amendment report to council at the next regular meeting. So similar to what was in the consent agenda today, reporting a budget amendment that was made in the general fund, it would be included in that same format of report.
And it would be identified separately from the budget amendments for the general fund?
Correct. Yeah, if there was, it would be likely in the same report. If there was one for the general fund and one for the capital project fund, it would probably be in the same report, but separately identified, yes.
I don't have any other questions. I know in the federal government there are thresholds where the reallocation, which is what this is, reallocation of resources, or can be exercised by an executive because of incidents like this, where you get small amounts of money that just need to be moved in a pretty quick fashion and don't have to dwell on it. So I'll entertain a motion, or we'll hear other questions.
The motion that we have is just to approve the ordinance 2413, amending the library expansion capital project fund. Okay?
Okay.
So that covers everything we're talking about, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I move to approve ordinance 2413, amending the library expansion capital project fund.
Second. Second, now we have discussion.
Yep. Along that same line, we have a specific instance here where the specific sum of money in the grand scheme of things is negligible. But the way it reads, the ordinance amends the fund. Does it provide an ongoing process such that future things can also be accommodated?
Does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing no objections, ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Item B, ordinance 24-14, no parking along the U.S. Kids Parade Route, July 30th from 4 o'clock to 7 p.m. Who's got this one? Doug, yes.
Yeah, so the organizers of the U.S. Kids event has asked us to prohibit parking along the parade route during the parade. I think that makes a lot of sense. So we have an ordinance for you to approve, which will allow that to happen.
Haven't we done this every year?
No, so in the past they did not have an official no parking plan, and so it's just, if you were parked there while the parade was going on, you were just stuck there till after the parade was over.
Same route, though.
It's same route, yeah.
Okay.
I also thought when I first read this that this is something that there was no parking there during parade, but I was reminded, yes, there was. And as I reflected on it, there had been cars in front of me while I was standing on the steps there. So.
And really, we won't be towing vehicles. We'll just post it that no parking between 4 and 7 p.m. And if you were parked there, you're stuck there till after 7.
Okay. And
Well, are we going to stake out the streets also?
That was not the plan.
Yeah, I just asking.
Yeah.
so aren't we going to try to prevent the parking?
Yeah, so
Yes.
we'll put signage in mostly along Chinkopin, and then maybe a little bit on, is that Magnolia up there? Anyway, but anywhere that there's designated parking, we'll put signage.
Thank you.
But along Carolina Vista, we were not planning on staking that out. I don't
Right,
think
no.
it'd be
Usually
a
not a
problem.
problem anyway.
No
right?
problem. Okay. Dr. Morgan, did you have a question?
I just
Comment?
attended the parade last year, and I thought that the parking that was interfering was pretty substantial, and I'd love to see the cars not be in there next time.
Okay. All right. This is another ordinance. Any more discussion? Otherwise, we'll consider adopting it.
I move to approve ordinance 24-14, no parking along the U.S. Kids Parade Route, July 30, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All set? All right. Now we go on to item A. Actually, regular business 7A, to be precise, the library design progress update from Oakley Collier Architects.
Yeah, so we have Jason Gable from Oakley Collier Architects joining us via Zoom. So we'll give them just a second to kind of get the screen set up and him available. Jason, I'm assuming you can hear us, and yeah, there you go. Great. So while Jason's going to share his screen to kind of share some of the site plans and designs that we have already designed to this point. Jason can also go over kind of the rough time frame for what we're looking at for the design and bidding out this project. We did share with council some designs that are there to date. If you have any questions on those, Jason and or I are happy to answer those. And Jason, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks very much, like Doug said, Jason Gable, architect of the Oakley Collier. I've been practicing North Carolina since 1996 or so, almost 30 years. But I've only been involved in this given library project for the last few months. So y'all are probably more familiar than I am. So I'm going to just give an update on where we are from head to head, but mostly I'll be happy to listen. And if there are any answers to questions that I cannot provide today, we will be sure to get them to you. I think everyone would be, and like I said, you all are probably more familiar than I am. But on the screen now, are you all able to see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. This is the library site here at Magnolia Wood on Rattlesnake. And we are headed towards site plan that looks like this, with parking behind the building and in front of the building out Magnolia with a drop-off zone out front and some parallel parking spaces. I think we're at about 47 parking spaces in the back. And relatively looks the same as we have seen for several months. I'm happy to share plans, structural plans, civil plans, electrical plans. I don't know if we're doing a lot of black and white work, but this is where we are. We are just completing the design development phase of the project, and we'll be moving rapidly into construction drawings, which will be a much higher level of detail. And the next set of progress drawings to that effect is due at the end of August, right before Labor Day.
All right. I've got a few questions. By the way, I counted 34 parking spots. But again, it could be about what it is to scale. I didn't count 47 back there. So you might want to just...
Yeah, maybe the 47 is including parallel spaces.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. I thought you said the ones back there were 47. All right. Well, that's a... Okay, that's obviously can be correct.
Have we reviewed the interior design and layout with the library staff?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So Jason and Rebecca from Oakley Collier and Audrey and I met maybe a week or so ago. We reviewed it. We had a little bit of feedback, and Jason and Rebecca were able to, walk us through it. And I think we are at a good place. Audrey's here. She can nod her head if she agrees. But yeah, we've had the chance to talk about it.
Were there any unanswered questions or what issues that may...
No, like for example, one of our questions was Audrey wants to prioritize natural light being into the building, and I think we all do.
Right.
And so Jason and Rebecca showed us, what the windows will look like, especially in like the adult room and the children room. They're extra high, so they allow an extra amount of natural light. So things like that we discussed, and we're satisfied. We're happy with them.
I noticed there was no skylights. And because I was thinking also about the light issue, and I remember we discussed that, not specifically skylights, but when I think of lighting, I think they just usually something let in from the ceiling. Is that intentionally? Is it a cost-saving reason, or is it? Jason, any comments? Okay. Okay. Let me, a couple other items. I noticed that you have on the HVAC units, they're not on the roof, they're on the side. And I'm glad to see that, because I know in some cases today, these things are put on the rooftop and can be less than attractive. So thank you there. What I will say is that the front, I think, is I think that's a good approach. I mean, it's a pretty good first impression. What I can't tell, and maybe you can walk me through it a little bit, is just how much, after you get off this sidewalk here, the approach, what is right there? Is it a sort of a drop-off zone? Is it are there parking spots there? So that's one thing. The second thing is, I thought the rear entrance, which I assume most visitors will be entering through the rear, because that's where they're parking. I didn't think it had the curb appeal, I guess that's a word, that this does. And I also noticed in the rear that they had, you have those small, well, that's not, there we go. The rear has these small scale windows there, very tiny, as opposed to what we see up front. So I'm just talking out loud here as someone who's read a lot of this material and reviewed it, and those are the things that popped out at me. So comment away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah, 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 that's what sort of prompted a little my question. I can't tell from the drawing whether or not there's a little driveway that comes off Magnolia Road into or up to the front of the walkway, so someone is actually dropped off, or are they dropped off on the curb of Magnolia? Because that is a curve, and you mentioned there's a sort of a safety consideration there, particularly if you're dropping off. The drop-offs are going to tend to be either little kids or maybe people who need accessibility, easy accessibility. So I'm not sure. Is it coming off there, sort of a semicircle driveway, or is it going to be just on Magnolia where the drop-off takes place?
The short answer is at the moment, the interpretation of similarly was just a drop off at the curb.
Yeah.
The dashed line you see here is the relative edge of made existing. The property line is heavy line here.
Mm-hmm.
And his interpretation was to create additional parking spaces and to basically strike out those spaces for loading or somebody to pause. We think that to mitigate some of the safety concerns, logistics concerns, that if we have the wherewithal, that we may build this in like a drop-off and then turn back out a little bit more so you're...
Well, yeah, I would...
Visual safety factor as you watch cars come.
Yeah. I think it would be helpful to see some option like that. I suppose you could always, I say always, that's not the right word, but you could consider just moving the structure back a little bit because you have some space in the back, so you give yourself a little more room up front there. I don't know how we gauge, or maybe Marjorie does know, how do you gauge what percentages are drop-offs and what percentages are people that are going to, park and stay for a while? I just don't know, but there's a sensitivity around that area there for cars, and it's sort of a, and we're anticipating kids coming to the library. So anyway, I made my statement. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other members?
Go ahead, Jack.
I was going to ask, what is the interior wall height? Just curious.
Jason, I'll let you answer that.
They're going to be 9-foot ceilings, 10-foot, 12-foot ceilings? What are they? You know?
Hang on just a second. We pull up the floor plan. The main areas are they have vaulted roofs, vaulted ceilings.
Vaulted ceilings? Okay. So, anyway, the taller, in a way, the better, to a point, obviously. So I'm very confused on the roof plan, to tell you the truth. Some other roof plans initially did not show a flat roof. This was showing 4 flat sections, with valleys leading the water right to the flat roof. I have a question about that. Is that the plan?
Yes. And we had probably some things you saw in some of the initial designs had the entire footprint under pitched roofs, low sill pitched roofs. What that resulted in quite a bit of what we call overframing, and quite a bit of therefore attic space, usable attic space, which turned out to be quite inefficient. Didn't need it.
So this solution is a lot more efficient. And you're correct. Water was drained off of these pitched areas to these low slope, as you said, flat roof areas, which would then drain out scuppers and downspouts with a small parapet wall. I think as the evidence to some of these views, you can see that it's almost not noticeable from the ground. The flat roof will not be what you're seeing will not be the impression.
I don't know. I noticed it. I think it's quite evident.
Just to comment a little on that, when you look again at the rear, on the front you've got sort of the flat roof with this. I think you call them shed roofs or something, where you have that white thing that distracts us from looking at the flat roof a little, which is fine. But in the rear, we don't have that. Maybe, and that's part of what I think makes the rear just a little less curb appealing than the front. So I throw that out to you. I don't know
One citizen's opinion, I think it looks problematic.
With the flat roof, or
Right.
just the look of it, or just that it's a flat roof? And
Well, I'm not a big favor of flat roofs, number one. And aesthetically, I think it is better with the, with the pitched roofs all the way around. But that's just me. So I think we can talk about that.
yeah, Jason and I can talk offline, but
It doesn't change the interior design, to my knowledge. Is that correct?
No, it will not. And so this kind of back and forth, this is great. We can absolutely take that into consideration, not for us to explore that. And again, next 2 or 3 years, we'll be putting out another set of line that's definitely by the August month, a little bit sooner. And that was one of the, can we show a couple of design options at this point in the game for review?
that'd be great if you could show what Jack is discussing. No, I want to be specific. I was going to say the things I mentioned with the semicircle driveway up front and maybe moving things back a little. Both deal a little bit with curb appeal rather than other things. But
Do you know offhand, is there a significant cost difference between, the shed roofs, or excuse me, the flat roofs and, a full roof?
The short answer is no, not significant. Go with a pitched roof, more extensive pitched roof. There'll be some metal roofing, but it's not. You're trading that off of the ring roof. What you're saving on would be some of the structure. But it's not a significant delta. I don't think, especially if we wanted to just kind of address this rear view. If we're relatively happy with the front, then alternatively, it would probably not be a step too far to go back to what a roof design you saw earlier.
Mhm.
But the designer came to this conclusion that you see here as being less expensive overall and preferable. But design is never right answer. So we're not going to accommodate some
I don't know of any of our public buildings, particularly up and down Magnolia Road, that have that type of roof. Am I right there? Maybe I missed something?
You are. The police station, they have issues. Maybe select areas of small roof. And this is kind of what it is. On one hand, we could be kind of semantics, and we probably can make it either way if it's preferable. And we can share the renders again with the previous version and or slice to make it mate exactly with this. I don't have a problem on architectural standpoint going back to that direction.
Okay. It's something to talk about, I think. My other question is, the orientation is, on the plans we received, the orientation is not even noted on the diagrams, but I think the front faces, what would you say, northeast? And so a low winter sun would not be coming straight in any of the windows, because that can be real disturbing. If you've ever lived in the Arizona area, that's a major consideration.
My my own home says not too much glass facing southwest. But no, this is pretty well sited. We'll benefit from having some trees, which is fantastic.
Going back to the pitched roof, I think earlier, Jason, you referenced that it would probably leave some attic space and all if we went from. Is there a way to have that attic space be useful from a storage standpoint, or is it just become just a visual? That's why I was just thinking if maybe there's a way to capture just a little more. The only thing I can think of is storage space or equipment space.
Very good question. Typically, in a building type like this, the attic space to make it usable, to make it viable, will cost too much.
Right.
Too much else that has to go to
Okay.
circulation, up, down, more code regulations. And also, we need that we need to build these pitched roofs, what we call stick frame, as opposed to trusses. And closely spaced trusses are going to be a lot less expensive to structurally do this.
Okay, thanks. I get it. Just a question. Other questions, John? You had something.
Yeah, Jason, I guess as I had taken a look at this, and it was really Pat's first question that crystallized this for me. I think one of the problems we have is what we expect to be the quote-unquote front of the library may or may not be the primary entry point. And we can't have two front doors. But I'm wondering, in terms of the internal layout, right now, if you enter through the rear, you are right into looks like the YA stacks, which is not the optimal way to come into the building. And I don't have a solution for that. There may not be a solution because we can't have two front doors.
Well, I suppose you could flip the stacks. Is it if it was something more presentable?
I'd look to the library staff to have looked at that pretty carefully, I assume, and realize the travel between the door and the circulation desk from various entrances. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we have looked at that. As it's shown here right now, there's a table in the middle there, so you could walk through it. And we can still address FF&E issues, but I think there's flexibility here. Like if we want to flip the YA stacks and move some of those couches that are right there to that back door, so it feels like more of an entryway. I think we have that flexibility even after it's built. Right. I think we can do.
My second observation is, at least to my eye, the design of the front, the Magnolia Road facing side, is nicer than the back. And I'm not saying they should be symmetrical, but I like what you've done on the front, and I'm wondering, to the extent that the rear may turn out to be, will certainly be a primary entrance, whether it's the primary entrance or not, who knows. I'm not saying it should be replicated, but I'm not an architect. I throw that up as a question.
Well, you have one point in that the rear is more south-facing.
Yeah.
And whether you want the overhang and the shade in the south-facing side to cover those patio areas.
In the summer, that could get pretty warm. I don't know that people are going to be out there earlier today, as an example, before it rained.
Well, that was actually one of my main questions, is with those two patios in the back. What's the design use for those?
I mean, those are flexible spaces, so I see, umbrellas out there and people being able to sit out and, read a book or bring their lunch and enjoy the outdoor space. Kind of similar to what you could do on the front side underneath the porches. So I think we have flexibility. We could add, greenage to that area, or, like I said, umbrellas and picnic tables. So.
Yeah, I was just about to say that very thing. I think the introduction of some landscape areas on these patios will go a long way. Relatively inexpensive way to create some shade, create some design there. Certainly with patio tables and umbrellas would also be a lower cost way rather than adding to the building, having canopies. But I take the heart what is said here, that we are able to revert, that's the right word, to a pitched roof back here, and kind of makes this have more of a similar curvature to what the front has. In the next iteration, then we can show the table, logos, planters. I think soften this up quite a bit, and as I already alluded to, we're able to use delta between parking spaces at the FFU building, finished floor elevation building. I think we'll go a long way to have us all feel better about this situation.
My last question or point, which again, I'm not sure I even have any answer for. I was on the Historic Preservation Commission here in Pinehurst when we approved the new elementary school. And it's a terrific building, but my observation would be it's not particularly Pinehurst. You could put that building in virtually any suburban area anywhere in the country. And you know, the building we're sitting in now is not particularly Pinehurst either. And the design that you have is much more in keeping with Village Hall, I would say. But I'm wondering if there's a way to make the exterior of this a little more Pinehurst, admitting that the existing Gibbon Memorial Library on the green is a brick facade and what have you. So completely aesthetic comment, not structural comment.
Jason, you can pitch in too, but we wanted to have the same campus feel as some of these other buildings around here. So that's one of the things. You know, what makes it Pinehurst more than something else is
it's a pretty eclectic group of buildings in this area, to tell you the truth.
I think that's one of the reasons why we have the porches on there, because it has the southern charm feel to it.
Someone may ask why, not me of course, is why columns aren't round.
That's a good question, and maybe Jason can make them round.
I don't know.
We certainly, that might make a difference. I do too. I like that. That'll do it.
I can almost field do that, yeah, right.
Well, that we'll put that down instead of Jack as someone who would like a round column. Okay.
It didn't pick up on the round versus the square columns there is a big issue, but okay.
Dr. Morgan?
I'm going to go back to the rear again, the rear view there, and the patios, and just utilization. And I'm not a library expert in any means, but at our house, we don't have a patio off of our laundry room or our study. We have patio off of a living area and a place that's utilized. Right now, what we got on the back there is you have a patio behind basically on the left side as we're looking at this right now. That's a break room. And then the other side, you have looks like storages, mechanical rooms, things like that. Seems to me if you want to utilize a patio and have it there, I'm not sure if there's a different way of utilizing that space and making kind of bigger windows we talked about before, but use it as a patio. You have a program room that's on the right side, on the other side of the storage rooms and stuff like that. I don't know if there's a possibility of moving that to the area where a patio can be used more as a patio. And understand these comments are coming from someone who knows nothing about a library. I'm just looking at utilization of it. What I don't want to have is build a couple patios and then we throw some bushes on there and it's never used or anything like that. You know, we're the purpose of all this is doing something that's going to be used by folks on there. So I throw that as a thought.
Could you go back to the rear view again? Would it be architecturally odd to, instead of having those 3 square windows, because you informed us of one of the reasons for that is because of what's going on behind it. If you had sort of 2 long windows back there, just I don't know I don't know if it's functional or what it looks like. There's something about those 3 windows that make it look less like, it's less inviting, I guess is the phrase.
I think picking up on Jeff's point, and on HPC, one of the things we try to do is not be the design experts, because that's what they do, not what we do. But to your point, if that program room abutted or was adjacent to, you might even be able to throw the doors open or what have you, and
as an
have
extension
of that. I
That's
kind
what
of
I
like
see.
that idea.
And if you got kids in there that are doing a program or whatever, and it's like, hey, it's a beautiful day, let's open the doors and go outside and come back in, that kind of thing. It just again,
You could spill out there, right,
It just-
so to speak.
Particularly if that rear were to be covered more similarly to the front, so that you didn't have the sun beating in there.
okay, and I say this in deference to Audrey and other folks out there that, just thoughts. And I welcome any of your opinions on there.
I kind of like the idea of maybe flipping that so the program room can open up right to the patio. If we can't do it right here, maybe an alternative would be to have a walkway from the exit point of the
Around the side.
yeah, right, or even maybe extend the patio a little bit over that way too, to just kind of connect them and give it some.
Admitting that none of us are architects, now's the time to be throwing these ideas out, and we'll see
Yes.
what works.
And I like the front. The front, you have the covered areas there for the patios, plus it's also coming out of a meeting room that's on there, and looks like a workroom in there, which again, I could see that being appropriately used as a, patio area.
All right.
There's not really an opportunity to do it on the other side, though, is there, to accomplish that same thing? Because that's
Not
all
really.
kind of workspace on that side, or?
That's the staff
Could you
kind
go
of
back to
break
layout
room.
again? Yeah. So what do we got? We've got a, is that a,
Yeah.
You got study rooms that are put in there.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah, down at the bottom.
Look
Jason,
lower.
bottom,
if
yeah,
you
at the
can
back side.
look lower.
Yeah.
So you have study rooms, the 3 rooms at the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
Break room
Then you
storage.
have, looks like
Utility
stuff for the
closet
staff.
and then break room.
Yeah.
Now, if you could leave the study rooms there and move the break room, or not, excuse me, the program room into that zone and have the stuff on the left lower component and put that over beside storage, IT, and make that just more of a staff and functionality space on there, that seems to make more sense.
Put the utility stuff off, more toward the interior, and
That's from the
put
window.
the programming spaces and stuff along that back wall, if possible.
If possible.
On both sides, so that you can have that same walkout.
And if you can do that for both of them, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Where you're moving the program room down and move the storage IT up. And then, is there something else we can do and have staff space, so it's not the patio, but that have a customer space?
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you. Barbara, did you have anything you want to say?
The only thing I would say is that my first impression is that it is a very contemporary square building. And what's not Pinehursty about it is that it is a square contemporary building. And so if there are things that we can do to make it look a little less institutional, like classical, maybe traditional, I think your round columns are a grand idea. I also wonder, and I don't know, I'm another non-professional opinion here, are there ways to add arches, maybe around the columns or around the windows? I don't know, to soften it to some extent. I think your point about changing the elevation in the rear will be critical to change it. It's almost, it's so institutional that it, with the fence around it, it kind of looks like a prison. And and that may just be the artist, I know, architectural depiction of the fence. So maybe something that is a little more decorative and less threatening.
We could add some barbed wire on top. Maybe that'll help.
Barbed wire would be perfect.
Keep those kids in.
That's my nonsense.
Well, I hope that the citizens can afford all our design changes.
Just gave new authority to the village manager, so we can keep it under a threshold.
$10,000 at a time.
Yeah.
I did have, I'm sorry. Jason, I did want to say one thing, and that is that the program room, it has to be able to get dark, really dark in there for certain types of programs as well. I'm not saying I don't want more light, but there needs to be room darkening shades or something like that as well if we're going to open out to the patio, et cetera. That's one of the reasons why it's facing where there isn't a great amount of light coming in, where you would be looking, where like if there were windows right above here where we're looking at you now, it would be difficult to sharpen the image and to see it clearly and things like that. And so if we want to show a movie or something to the children, that's just something to consider, that the room should be able to get dark if necessary.
That's very helpful.
Yep.
But I do think it can become complicated with other visual concerns as well as move it to the plant side wall. Certainly something to look at really quickly. And at the next negotiation, we can have a couple options for everybody to take a look at.
All right.
Good. Jason, I think we got a lot for you to consider, and we'll be in touch. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jason. We'll look forward to round 2, and hopefully next month. Keep it moving.
Thanks for the good work.
Appreciate
Thank you. All right.
Doug, I might just add that the additional 3D was useful, and as just a general comment for round 2, more is better.
Yep. Even that way he shared now, maybe I can get a copy of that and put it on our website for the public to see. So.
Okay. All righty. That was productive. We will go on now to 7B, which is a report from council members on the NCDOT listening sessions for the proposed continuous flow intersection replacement of the Pinehurst traffic circle. I think we all, as we referenced earlier, we had all attended 1 or 2. I saw some of my colleagues at 2 of the meetings with me, so we certainly had a little, I'd say this, a good representation at these meetings. I guess I'll kick things off. I had a few comments about it. I found that some of the folks who showed up, and it was a very large amount, particularly at Pinehurst Elementary School. It seemed like more of an open house rather than I think what they were anticipating, which was a real presentation to them all from the DOT folks. But they went around and met with the various settings of engineers and had their comment and input. I think that many of the questions that the residents or the attendees raised were the ones that we've all either discussed or been in the paper. The issue of eminent domain, the Midland Road alteration, and the issue of the trees. I must have spoke with about 100 people at that first meeting. Half of them I knew, half of them I didn't. Not a single person said to me or pulled me aside that this is what we need to do, that you really should do this. They all had reservations for 1 or all 3 of those reasons, but wanted us to make improvements to it, to the circle, but certainly felt, particularly about some of the neighbors or people they knew whose homes were sort of in the line of fire. I had engaged with the conversation with, I'm going to say, a half a dozen of the engineers, and they all were engaging. They were willing to discuss things. Nothing I heard altered my opinion of the shifted pillow. I don't believe it's a good fit for Pinehurst. At our next meeting in August, I intend to propose a formal resolution for us to go on record formally regarding the proposal from NCDOT, and that we can then sent forward to NCDOT and other parties that follow this. We heard earlier from Mr. Geddes, and there's the citizen involvement is remarkable. I have not seen an issue that has united our community. I've seen issues that divide our community, but I have not seen one like this that so unites our community. Some, for various reasons, the attachment to the circle or their personal impact regarding their lives, and so on. But I also have not found anybody who doesn't say there's got to be some improvements that we can make to help with this traffic flow. And so I think that's something else we'll need to address. And one of the questions that I got that I really couldn't answer too well was, if this is such an urgent problem, why are they going to wait 8 years to finish it? And I explained to when they prefer to do construction work between opens and all. But that was not convincing to a lot of people who said, oh, come on, you can make some changes before then. We're going to wait 8 years even if they did this. And the other comment was one of, what happens to the traffic flow when there's the 2.5-year construction project going on right there? How are we supposed to navigate then? I said, look, engineers have solutions to these things. So we'll see what would happen in the event that this went forward. At any rate, those are my general observations, and I'll turn it over to the Mayor Pro Tem if he has some thoughts, and we'll keep going around the table.
I happen to have had, well, it's number one, the presentation that we all saw as elected officials from 3 to 5, I didn't find informative because I'd already seen it at SMPO. But I thought it was a very good presentation, and Craig Scheffler, who I made a point when I could see him, which was in Carthage the next night, of saying that I thought he had done as good a job as he could have done. I think the public would have benefited from that. I understand the DOT's, I understand why they say they don't do it that way. But unfortunately, when you have as many people as showed up, trying to get them to be able to engage with an engineer was virtually impossible. And you'd have clutches of 8 or 10 or 12 people all trying to, and trying to get their questions in. And I really don't know how effective that was. Then you had the people who just gave up. So I'm in row 14 here, and I can't get my question answered. And to Pat's point, many of them were seeking me out. Well, what do you know about this? What do you think about this? And as it happens, because of attending the SMPO, I think I could bring certainly some facts to bear and what have you. I agree, Pat, that we need to go on record. I think the public expects us to take, I don't propose we do it tonight. I think we may need to do some drafting and wordsmithing, but I think we need to be on record. I think we need, and certainly in talking with the engineers, there's 7 other proposals that a prior council made that have not been acted upon. Maybe they're not all worth acting upon, but that's one starting point. Second starting point, as I think I've said when we discussed this previously, the DOT doesn't give you a menu. They have engineers, they study a problem, and they say, this is what we believe is the best solution. I don't think it's incumbent on us to come up with an entirely new design. We are not traffic engineers. I don't think we would be taken credibly at that. But I do think we want to encourage them to, what would plan B? If not this, what next? And all of this is against the backdrop, as one of our public speakers said, of we're going against, why do they have 8 years to finish? Because from now to 2029, the projected increase in traffic, according to the DOT numbers, is 8.7%. It's kind of nothing. You could ignore that. Where the rubber meets the road is when you take an assumed growth rate, and I don't care if it's 1.5% or whatever, and you compound that out 25 years. Now you get a really big number, and that's where the potential bite could be. But I would say just anecdotally, at 12:16 this afternoon, I was coming north on US 15501, and I came to almost a stop exactly where the big green sign is, which is the first real, right? So that's a pretty long ways. It's 45 or 50 cars away, I would estimate, from the actual traffic circle. It took me 3 minutes and 48 seconds to get into the traffic circle. Right? Yeah, unacceptable. So, in any event, I thought that people who came to Carthage got more information because it was not as well attended and they could interact with people. And I will pass it along.
Okay. Dr. Morgan.
Yeah, I mentioned in the initial reports, just a way to go to our citizens. You got us a seat back at the table. Because you got to ask your question. We all have to ask the question: is how come this was rolled out the way it was? How come NCDOT just said they were putting in a CFI? Well, a couple of years ago, they came up to us and they asked, "Hey, what are your recommendations?" We were late in getting the recommendations to them. We provided a few of them to them. They adopted 2. They have not adopted the others. And I did ask the question, the engineers, why not? And the answer was they didn't feel it would help out. That was on there. So they did adopt a couple of them. But in the presentations, and I'm not sure who heard what, they also labeled one, and I assume you all heard this, Band-Aid type of solutions on there. And they're looking for a solution to the traffic that's going on in the traffic circle. We can argue about the data, we can argue about, the plans, all that kind of stuff. But there was a frustration that I perceived from NCDOT on how the council responded to them previously. And they're trying to come to the table. And as far as I'm concerned, if you look at how this rolled out, we lost our seat at the table. Well, how do you avoid that? You talk to people. You try to understand what their problems are, try to understand their problems are, you negotiate stuff out. So, well, we lost that. And as this thing has come out, and I've talked to some of the engineers, like you all have talked to them, my big hurrah, the citizens of Pinehurst, in my opinion, got us a seat back at the table. I don't want to squander it. I don't think a resolution's enough. I want to make sure that we are continuing to talk with them and trying to negotiate things out. 9 days ago, I put out an email to the rest of the council proposing that we have scheduled events in which we're talking to NCDOT. We have set people that are doing it, that we have representatives coming from the resort as well as the hospital who are major stakeholders in this, and that we continue to talk. Now, do I expect a perfect solution that everyone's going to be happy with? Absolutely not. But the idea that was proposed here of change, don't destroy, I can run with that. Okay? But we have entities here that are recognizing a significant problem, being NCDOT. And when one of the roads starts with US 15501, that doesn't mean Pinehurst owns it. So let's recognize the situation for what it is. Let's be a council that's trying to represent the people here and fight for what they want. But we need to do that by having a seat at the table. So I want to make sure the 5 of us, here's what's going on, but also working with NCDOT as colleagues. Thank you.
Yes, I agree. We do need to continue to work with them and work with them more and hopefully get to a sensible and practical solution. And I got the feeling that in talking to the engineers that they sort of realize that the people they have been meeting with in the community who have come up for them are just not convinced of what they proposed.
Well, I talked to 2 of them, and they were very clear, we need to make changes.
Yeah.
And when the last line in the pilot, I don't know if you wrote that or not, Matt, but the last line in the pilot came from Pat Malamphy, who's on the board, talked about willingness to
he said, we're not, his quote was, we're not married to this, we're looking for a sort of a solution. So that's a long cry from here you are.
That's exactly right, and I attribute the success of that to the people of Pinehurst. Thank you for showing up.
Absolutely. Jack.
Well, I just sort of, I think, Jeff, I think you're right that we have to be more proactive and positive in our approach. But I've just sort of backed off and tried to figure out why NCDOT and the village in the form of the population are taking the position they are. And I sort of come down to most decisions that organizations and people take are based on a cost-benefit analysis, whether they explicitly define the costs and benefits or whether they just sort of instinctively feel them. And I think NC's cost-benefit analysis is focused on primarily two benefits that they've articulated, which is one is the potential reduction of a few minutes in wait time during the peak hours that occur at least 2 hours a day, possibly a little bit longer, but 5 days a week. But they don't seem to be concerned with the delay built into a complex intersection for the other 22 hours a day. And their other big benefit is a reduction in crashes, but discounting, although less frequent, the almost certainty of serious crashes that occur at a complex intersection with 14 traffic lights and impatient drivers that seem to be the norm in our area. So the NC cost side seems to they've only reflected the possible $60 million or whatever that it's going to cost. That's kind of their cost-benefit analysis. And I see where they're coming out from. But I think the individuals in the area, we have a different cost-benefit equation that takes into account other factors that seem to be well beyond NC's equation. I think we've acknowledged that NC's benefits, with some skepticism, we acknowledge them, but we don't value them as highly as the cost of losing a fundamental element and important part of our character and community of the history of the village. So I certainly understand that NC's role is to take a sort of myopic view of traffic and moving cars through intersections and so forth and safely. But I think that the cost-benefit equation for the individuals in the community is weighted more toward caring about their community as a whole and what potential loss there is in the character. So I think that's the fundamental difference in where we're coming from. And maybe if we understand our fundamental differences, we can maybe work on a solution that works for both of us.
Thanks, Jack. That's an important aspect of this. There are people involved in this rather than just roads. Barbara?
So I've brought this up before. It struck me again when I watched the presentation, and that is it is very focused on today's traffic patterns around the circle. And it does not seem to take into consideration for something that's going in 8 years from now, technological advances that will occur in transportation, what we drive, how traffic can be monitored and rerouted instantly in the future, enhanced GPS systems that will reroute people based on traffic patterns here and there. So instead, it struck me as so odd that we're looking at a map that has the circumference of a traffic circle instead of what does Moore County look like and surrounding counties 8 years from now? Where are the population clusters going to be? How will they affect traffic patterns? We also have on DOT's list for improvements and widening roads like Murdochsville Road, North Carolina 73, North Carolina 2427, North Carolina 22, all of which will affect traffic patterns. And yet we are focused on today's traffic patterns at the circle, and I think that is dangerous. And I think in 8 years, we could be implementing something that is already obsolete. And at $54+ million of taxpayers' money, that makes no sense. And that's not to mention the destructive impact it has on the village of Pinehurst. So that's it.
Pat, can I tag on to that?
Sure.
I think Barbara pointing out that this is more than just what happens in that 6 acres. As the SMPO going forward begins to develop a comprehensive transportation plan that is much beyond just Pinehurst, I think it should be able to help inform whatever the ultimate decision is. And again, that's not an excuse for doing nothing now. I agree we cannot be the council of no. We have to look at what is possible. But I think we are mandated under federal law to have this SMPO and to have it develop a comprehensive transportation plan, and to do something as significant as this without at least getting some input from that, I think is probably not good process.
Other comments from anybody before we move forward?
Just one thing I didn't mention. I've got an incredible heartburn on having people lose their homes.
Welcome to the club. We'll pass the Tums around.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you for that discussion. I think, as our residents probably know, we as individual council members attended these meetings. You weren't there alone. We spoke to many of you, met many of you, and we're listening. So
Yeah, the last one is going on right now at the Aberdeen Baptist Church.
You're correct.
As we speak.
Along those lines, a couple of weeks ago, we, at the suggestion of and with the very fine drafting ability of Councilman Farrell, we discussed sending a letter to the National Park Service, the architectural historian there, who we've worked with, Ellen Rankin. And we've circulated that around among council members. We had a few edits, which we've adopted. And Shannon has done an excellent job of incorporating all our little knickknacks. We appreciate that. And so I am prepared to sign that, and we'll send it on. And we're copying the governor, our congressman, because it deals with the National Park Service, the Secretary of Transportation, the North Carolina State Historic Preservation Office, the Moore County Historical Association, and of course, the council members themselves. So we'll put that in the mail probably tomorrow, and we can send an electronic copy around to everybody, the final version. We may think about posting it on the website also. So we'll take care of that. Thank you. And now we will go to item C, website review. Kristen Bizarre.
Now we get to talk about different traffic patterns. Thank you for the laugh. Appreciate it.
That's very good.
I caught it.
Yeah, we all got it. He got it first.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Mr. Sanborn. Thank you for having me tonight to talk about our website. I was asked by the mayor earlier this summer to give some brief highlights on some analytics, some trends that we see coming forth, and other platforms that maybe we'd be interested in. So, every time I deal with a website or social media, I want to remind myself and everyone that has a piece of it that every touch point on our website or social media site has an impact, whether that's a good first impression, or it might be the only touch point we have with a resident. They may never step foot in town hall, we may never see them at an event, but they may visit our website. So tonight we're gonna look at the history of our website, then we're gonna do a little virtual tour, analytics and trends to see what the data says. We're gonna take a look at some of the external platforms that we use. We're gonna talk about the maintenance of the website, what goes into it, and then the future, where the website is headed. And then I'll be glad to answer any questions. So there's this fun website called the Wayback Machine. Everything that you put on the internet stays on the internet. That's a good reminder for all of us. But I went back and pulled up the 2013 version of our website, and I wanted to show you kind of the history and the evolution of the trends and where we are now. So the 2000 version, you'll see siloed tabs across the top: residents, visitors, business, government. That means something a little different to everyone. That was the trend back in 2013. Every government agency had those silos. That's one of the challenges to government websites, is we're all too siloed. There was a focus on branding. Of course, we want our brand front and center, but in the grand scheme of things, is that appropriate for somebody that's coming to our website to look for information? At the time in 2013, it was. We wanted our logo and our tagline right where you could see them. Search bars in the top right, that's had a couple different iterations, and we'll go through that. It's image light. There used to be an image in this center tab that's blank. The Wayback Machine did not capture that image because it takes up a lot of space, and they have billions of websites that they keep track of. I do want to point out this innovative How Do I tab drop box. I don't know if you can see it, but that's kind of what I would call a precursor to AI. That was very innovative for 2013 in government to have How Do I with a drop down. Unfortunately, I can't access it to see what the options were, but that was just a testament to our IT department and the management at the time that decided we need a How Do I drop down. So we'll also look at, just to give you a comparison, this was 2013, this was the Town of Davidson's webpage. You can see they were brand front and center, College Town, Lake Town, Your Town, and everything is divided into these tabs. One thing to mention about these tabs is that you have to click on them and then it brings up a new page. We'll talk about the hover, the invention of the hovers on our website shortly. And of course, now it's going to skip. Oh, now I ruined it. Surprise. All right, so 2018, we did have a lot of iterations to our website between 2013 and 2018, but they were very minimal, and I wanted to skip ahead when we had large changes. So you'll notice that innovative alert banner is at the top. I believe it says something about, in 2018, splitting up the Pinehurst historic downtown areas. I believe that's what it was. So it's a good place to put hot topics. We still used it during COVID, so it's a nice alert banner that catches your attention right when you come to the website. Hero images were introduced. So instead of this light imagery, which also our websites couldn't handle just because of the bandwidth, now we've moved to hero images, which catch your eye. Subtle branding is introduced. You'll see the pine cone is kind of the watermark in the background. We've moved the tagline to the bottom. That's not what people come to our website for. The search bar moves in 2018 front and center, because when everyone opens their computer to go to Google or to go look at something, they open up the search bar in 2018, and it was very popular to have your top searches on the left-hand screen. You'll see that, and you'll also see the top searches underneath the search bar. Typically, across the government spectrum, the top searches are always going to be join our team, events, meetings, and news. You'll notice that the headers become more active versus passive departmental silos. Our government, our community doing business, not just business. Connect with us, and I want to. And the integration of our social media icons. The 2019 version did make a little bit of a switch. Header becomes top searches. We decided using data and analytics that searches on government websites typically in the past have not worked well, only because there is so much information that is housed on our websites. So the search bar goes up to the top right. Hero image becomes a carousel highlight of news, so it scrolls just like our current website does now. And we removed departments as a way to filter information. We found that I know that buildings and grounds is in the Parks and Recs department because I just know that, I've learned it. But as a resident, I might think that that naturally falls in public services, for instance. So we found that that wasn't a good way to direct folks on their path to information. That's it.
Any questions?
That was impressive.
Well, I don't know what happened there. All right, current website. So the header continues in the top searches. You'll see at the very, very top, jobs, solid waste schedule, my VOP, and live stream. There's also a moving to Pinehurst tab that we're actually going to transition to the SMPO tab. We find that not a lot of people are clicking the move to Pinehurst tab, and SMPO, that would be a good placeholder for it. Search bar remains in the top right. Carousel images continue, and then we added what I call cards. You'll see below, join our team, event venues, etc. People don't like to have to click too many times to get the information that they would like. So if we can put the most common things in the easiest places, that's the best. So real quick, we will go to our website, and I talked about the hovering. So when you go to Our Government, it used to be that you click that and then all this stuff populated on a page. But now we have this hover over that's been in technology for a while. But talking about traffic patterns and pathways, when we get to the analytics, we'll talk more about it. But there's at least 4 different roads or avenues someone can get to go to the SOP, for instance, our standard operating procedure. And it's interesting when you're sitting with colleagues at work and you're like, hey, bring up the SOP real quick. Everybody goes a different way. So everybody's intuitive nature goes a different way. I go Our Government, and then I go to Strategic Operating Plan underneath the mayor and village council. But a lot of my colleagues go, I want to view state of the village, or Strategic Operating Plan. So I want us to keep this in mind when we're looking at the analytics, because it's going to be a little skewed. The bottom pages especially, you'll see, I want to point this one out, buy surplus property. So someone wants to, they come into our website, they want to buy surplus property. I would go to doing business, because that's how I view that, as a transactional visit. But you can also get to it from multiple angles or multiple places. Are there any questions about, I mean, we could virtually tour the website all day, but is there anything specific on the website that anybody wants to see?
No, I'd like you to click on back to Our Government, and where did you stumble across State of the Village somewhere? I'd like you to click that on.
Where are you? Are you under Mayor?
I mean, I saw you hover over it, so I don't know where it went.
I believe it
under-
is. I want
under
to
I want
view.
to.
Yep, I
There
want
it
to
is.
view.
There, State of the Village
Village
meetings.
meeting.
There it is.
Yes.
So click on that. Okay.
So this is an internal meeting that we have that the public's welcome to attend. It is for all of our employees and volunteers, and we do it once a year.
Okay.
And you can watch it online, or you can attend in person. And if you attend in person, you get to have pizza.
You get to have what?
Pizza.
Pizza.
Yes.
Well, I think most of our residents probably aren't aware of that, and that might be something to highlight occasionally. I see some heads nodding, because I think some would want to go to that. They'd want to meet some of the people that are working for the village and learn something. So anyway, I'm glad to see when you go to it. It's helpful. Right,
it is
there,
the results of our community survey, and any other information that the village managers want to pass along. So the community is getting the same information in a little bit different format. This one's a little bit more formal, and it gets all
Meeting
the...
is intended for our workforce.
Excuse me, Jeff?
It's intended for our workforce.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying
I
it's
mean,
for others.
all meetings are public, but...
Oh, okay. I took it to mean that we wanted to encourage people to go to it. Okay. It's more for the workforce. Okay.
Kristen, a couple of times you've referenced you go this way, but your colleagues go the other way.
Yes.
I'm not uninterested in how staff uses the website. I'm more interested in how the public uses it. And I wasn't sure when you said my colleagues, whether you specifically meant other people on staff or not.
Both. When I work with NAC volunteers, they use different methods to go to places. When I'm talking with residents and showing them ways to get to information, everybody has everybody does a little bit different. I like our search function. I think it works well. For instance, I'll search US Open. And a trick that I will teach everyone is if you are using the search function, filter it by date. That brings up, so for instance, the NCDOT presentations. I think there was a comment from one of you that we had an old presentation that someone found on our website, but there's an updated one. And so it's helpful to have the previous one so that we can refer back, but it's also helpful to filter this by date so that you get the most recent information that we have. All right, can we return to the presentation? And talking about, I'm glad you brought that up about how do our customers use our website, and that is what's important, and that's what's going to be discussed about in the design features.
What are some of our most popular pages? Are you going to get to that?
Oh, you wait. Yes, it's coming. Why? This computer does not like me.
Oh, my eye.
I'll blame it on the thunder. Now it won't let me do anything. See all those graphs coming at you, Mayor? They're coming.
One of the reasons I wanted to put this on the agenda is that in going through the strategic operating plans and the ETC community survey, we have quite a few, at least I think so, people who actually go to our website, and the sheer numbers, 164,000 number of websites. So I thought, I ought to know more about this, and I spoke to some of my colleagues, and they said, fine. So
all right,
go ahead.
We'll go over some analytics and trends. So 60% of the users that come to our website are using mobile or smart devices. That's very vital for us to know. In design features, we want to design mobile first. That becomes a little difficult when you're talking about PDFs, permit applications. I don't know if you've tried to do a permit on a cell phone, but it is difficult. So the remaining 40% are coming through using the desktop. We have, from 1 July 23 to 1 July 24, 561,000 views. That's number of page views on our website. Out of that, we have 1.4 million events triggered. What that means is that someone interacted with the website. They clicked on something, they opened something, they deleted something, or not deleted, they downloaded something, applied, did some kind of engagement with our website. I'm not using the keyboard anymore.
That's 1,500 a day. That's a lot. That's more than I would have expected.
That's my point.
Is it?
That's my point.
Okay.
They're not doing it with that remote.
I practiced today, made sure everything was working. So this is our top 10 list. I'm sorry David Letterman's not here to present it, but we have a total, and this kind of blew my mind, of 6,500 pages, individual pages on our website. That is a lot of data.
A lot of data.
41.9% are visiting us from the home page, and you'll see that that's 88,000 visitors. This year was an off year because of the open, but I'll be interested to see what the numbers are next year. But as you can see, our village is booked and busy. They love events. They want to know what's going on, where it's going on. They love our historical buildings, the Fair Barn and the Harness Track, Parks and Recreation. There's nothing up there that surprises me. Solid waste schedules, that's why solid waste schedules is always at the top. Planning and inspections, we expect to be a big number. I will say
14,500 people went to our website to find out about solid waste.
in 1 year,
1 year. Now, who would have won or lost on that bet of over-under? I mean, come on.
that is
It's amazing.
consistent across every municipality I've worked for. And it's usually schedules and when things are picked up, like the yard waste, when that's open, what can you recycle, what can't you recycle. We could drill down if you wanted to find out exactly where they're going, but that is just common across the board. What I will say is there's some things missing, glaringly missing. Things like jobs. Jobs is huge. Jobs is a huge hit. It is not going to show up on our analytics because we push that out to government jobs. Now, I can get the analytic data from government jobs, but I'd bet it would be up there. It would be in the top 10 if the jobs were housed on our website. But when you type in www.vop.org/HR, it goes straight. It redirects you to our jobs page.
Okay.
So that's not going to show up, but
This doesn't show library or archives.
it does not. You're correct. It was probably in the top 15.
Interesting. Okay.
This is just the same information presented in a different way. For those that like the bar graphs, you can see that everything's pretty even except for our homepage.
So now, who's responsible for the website?
We'll get to that in a couple slides, if that's all right.
No, I mean, individually keeping the data up to date is really a significant task, obviously.
It is. It is.
For each department. Right?
Correct. I have a slide about that. So I know you asked me for the bottom 10. Like I mentioned, we have 6,500 pages. Thousands of those pages have one visit per year. So it was going to be, so what I did, I used 100 as my threshold.
Right.
And then I did the top 6, just to give you an idea. But remember when we talked about the different pathways in which you can reach a site? So I want to buy surplus property is in that list, but that's just because they don't go through that. I want to view codes. Everyone views codes and regulations. That's very popular, but they're not going through that pathway. They're going through planning and inspections. Facility directory, I imagine would be where it is. Same thing with awards and recognitions. And 125th anniversary just continues to pop up. People are interested in it.
I wouldn't be offended if you remove that.
Remove what? No, that's you. Oh, for historical purposes. All right, performance and dashboards. So the mayor asked specifically about our dashboards because they're very robust. This is typical across the state of North Carolina. I've talked with all my colleagues. We spend a lot of time internally. We use these dashboards internally. We make data-driven decisions. Our council uses them daily. The public does not. I did add one more piece of data in the is views versus users because I felt that this was important. So the performance reports and dashboards, the views were 125. However, those were only 81 unique users.
How do you define users?
An IP address.
Sorry, say that?
An IP address. So like if I went to the site 4 times in 1 week, I'm not going to count, I'm only going to count as 1 user, but I'm going to count as 4 views because I visited it 4 times.
But you might have multiple. If I go on via my phone, mobile app, and I go from a laptop because I'm sitting at home, I will be 2 users.
It's devices. It's devices and IP addresses that are hitting that. Dashboards are a little better at 368. with 258 individual users. And then our strategic operating plan, which is actually the hardest document to to read, is
I find it pretty easy.
not hard, but just robust and dense. We had about 1,200, but only 408 individual users. I will also note that we link out to the strategic operating plan a lot more than we do the others, and that's a goal of mine this year, is to really try to push the dashboard information out a little bit more and see if we can get some more traction.
Thank you. Good idea.
But we did, this is what our current key performance measure dashboard looks like before you dig into each goal. I want to bring up that we switched to a different platform, ClearPoint. The Durham currently uses ClearPoint, and so I just wanted to give you an example. I don't know if this is what it's going to look like, because the team is going to build it together, but this is an example of what Durham's key performance dashboard looks like compared to what we currently have. So we're excited to see where we can go with that. So external platforms, it used to be 15, 20 years ago, you were having to update your website every 2 to 2 years, or you were obsolete. You're talking $30,000, $40,000 a pop at the minimum. These platforms, these companies are offering us solutions so we don't have to do that. We don't have to recreate our website every year. We can use these solutions from Acela, for instance. That's our planning and my VOP, is Jason back there? I think they also
That's
operate.
Acela as well.
Yes, that is. Thank you. I thought it was. Just want to make sure. The one with the red, green, and blue, that's the Southern software that does our crime statistics for our website. State Archives of North Carolina host our minutes and agendas. Civic Rec is the platform where all of our registrations and our catalog for our Parks and Recreation Department go. Civic Clerk, of course, is agenda software. GIS, everyone knows. Government Jobs is the orange, and American Legal is the municipal code. So keep in mind that we've got probably triple the amount of platforms. These were just ones that I thought that we could just briefly talk about tonight. So who maintains the website? Mr. Farrell's question. So IT is responsible for the support and the maintenance and security of hardware and the infrastructure of our website. However, every department has content responsibilities. And I think that this is a good opportunity to bring up that not only last Thursday night was our fire department out all night long, our IT staff was out all night long. We had a global outage, and we woke up to my listserv was all the communities from all over North Carolina that were closed for business that day. Permitting system wasn't used.
That was part of the broader outage.
The global outage from last week. It was the same night as the fire. People were closed for business, and all of our staff walked in, sat down, opened up our computers, and everything worked. So that's just a credit to the IT team's dedication. I just wanted to make sure that I shouted that out for them. Administrative staff, so this is all of the, I'm not admin department, but staff throughout the village, update departmental pages as needed, as folks change positions. If they are in charge of any committees or boards, they're responsible for uploading their information. Clerk does council materials, of course, agenda minutes, etc. I do news, banner images, graphics, and any other website updates as needed, as long as I'm not coding. I leave that to IT. Library and parks, they assist with updating events calendars, which you know is popular. So that's very important that our events calendar is kept up to date. Future and expected trends. The VOP staff is evaluating in 2015 the needs and trends for website refresh. The trends right now are maximalism, more is more, larger images, User-centric design. So what that goes, it ties into what you were saying, Mr. Taylor, about how do our users use our website. Our intranet, our internal website, looks a lot different than the external website, and there's a reason for that. It's built for how we need to use it. We also want to keep in mind a mobile-first design, make sure that, because 60% of our users are mobile users, that it also is mobile-friendly. And we want to make sure that we are accessible in our design. An example of this is all caps. You're also screaming at someone when you write in all caps, but it's also for some people that have the accessibility devices hooked up to their computer, it does not recognize all caps and cannot read out what it is saying. So it's very important that we keep up with these types of things so that we have an accessible website. And security and trust always remains on trend. So I wanted to...
Do we host everything on our in-house servers?
Say that one more time.
Do we host everything on our in-house servers?
No, sir. We host this in the cloud with Granicus.
Thank you.
Single cloud provider, do we have multiple?
Excuse me?
Do we have just one cloud provider, or do we do more than one platform?
For the website, we have one cloud provider, but they have redundant systems in the cloud. In case one goes down, the other takes over. How that works.
So real quick, I know a lot of people sometimes get a little nervous about AI technology, but people are using it on websites. Rowan County is using it. And if I may, I wanted to just, so this is their homepage, and AI is front and center. And so I'm very interested after the year to talk with their communications director and find out how useful this has been. And it will, so let's say you can ask a question. What was the good one we had just a minute ago, Shannon? When is the council meeting? When is, or commissioner? And so this AI only searches within itself. It does not search the wide web. So it will give me calendar. It will give me historic landmarks. And you can continue asking it questions. Where's the agenda? So there it is. And this takes 0 manpower. This takes 0 persons answering a phone call. And this helps, this can guide residents into fence, how do I do a fence permit? Or do I need a permit for a fence, et cetera. Any questions about AI technology?
I think if you missed a letter, it would know what you intended, but that's a different question. So.
It probably would. I have an internal issue with misspelling a word.
When are we going to be adopting it?
Sir?
When are we going to be adopting AI onto our website?
Good question. That's a process that we're going to, the team and Jason's team will get together and discuss what needs, what our trends are showing, and if that fits in with what the tools that we want to use. There's no decision. That's just what's coming. But I would like to integrate some AI eventually. So how do we keep up with an ever-changing technological climate? This is just personally for my position. So I'm a member of NC3C, which is North Carolina City and County Communicators. So you'll see we have a packed schedule tomorrow between that and the government social media. We have 2 webinars tomorrow. The cost for NC3C is $50 a year, and I get every single penny out of that. Tomorrow we're going to be discussing community engagement. 3CMA is the national organization, and they're constantly updating us on trends that they're seeing, case law that they're seeing come out for websites and social media. I'm also a member of the government social media, and you can see that tomorrow's discussion is going to be top AI tools for social governments. And then Nerd Alert, I listen to GovCom's podcast once a week. Sometimes it applies to me, sometimes it does not, but it's still interesting to see what other government agencies are doing in terms of communication. And I know that Jason is a member of his professional organizations and gets information constantly from them. And so we like to build meaningful connections with every digital interaction we have, whether it's our app, the kiosk, email, computer. And with that, I will answer any questions you may have about our website.
Questions? John, Dr. Morgan? Go
I
ahead.
was just going to mention, well, it's not really a question. It was to reiterate something that got done and that Jeff commented on. When the traffic circle issue first came up and DOT said safety's an issue, crashes are an issue, we asked, do you have any data post the bollards or for 2024, and they didn't. We got to thinking about it because the source of their data is really our police reports. It starts there if there's a crash, and then it gets aggregated up to them. And I thought we must, because of that, and because of what we see in the daily police report, that we must be able to report on it somehow. And I'd spoken separately with Jason and with Chief Webb, and then kind of made a formal request that they take a look at this. And Jeff, I don't think it took 7 days. I think it was less than a week. They came up with, for a first cut, a really excellent ability for us to look at our own data. And I had some other thoughts on that, which I said I'd hold off on. I didn't want to give just a knee-jerk reaction. I believe you've all been copied on the website. You can click on it. They've already made a couple of enhancements. And I don't think we want to make this a life's work, but to the extent that you have any thoughts, I think now is time to maybe feed them in, because this is important information, both with specific reference to the DOT as we work through them going forward, and just generally. So again, kudos to the IT department for coming up very, very quickly with a solution that we still don't have anything from DOT on, but we have our own numbers, and right. They'll never match exactly what DOT has, but I'll be happy to go with our numbers. I think they'll be more granular and they'll be more accurate, and we can actually pretty much look at them in real time now.
Okay, thank you. Barb, questions? Jack?
Nope. Thank you.
I just had one item. One of the things that triggered the website thought in my mind was that in our community survey findings in 2023, they gave us a sort of 10-year look at certain issues. Like one question caught my mind is, which of the following do you use to get information about the village of Pinehurst? Well, in 2013, 82% of the respondents said the Pilot newspaper. In 2023, that had dropped down to 68%.
Sorry, Matt.
He's sitting in the
just
room.
Reporting the facts, Matt. But on the village website, we went from 47% in 2013 up to 50% in 2023. So the trends were way different, which told me.
I have that on the screen for you now, too.
Oh, there you go. Which tells you the reliance that our residents have on the website, which what makes it very important. And the other one, it's not website, but it was the village newsletter, which also in 2013 was relied by 82%, but it dropped to 56% in 2023. But we haven't spent, I don't think, as much time on the village newsletter as we do on our website, which is obviously become more and more useful. So this is very helpful. I'll have probably some thoughts and chat with you again on this, and I do want to see a way we can encourage our residents to even use it more. The dashboards, the information in there is very helpful. Not everyone cares about a lot of that information, but for those who might, those dashboards are very insightful. So thank you, Kristen, for this, and thank you for the work you do on the NAC, because this is also helpful for them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item D, we'll go to the next item. Up, here comes Mike. This is a discuss the Chincoquin and Magnolia intersections and stormwater improvements project.
All right.
Crashed it.
I broke it.
Here goes the website. All right.
Walked away with the keyboard.
All right. Well, good evening. I'm here to discuss a project you've probably heard a little bit about. We've called it the Chinquapin and Magnolia Intersection and Stormwater Improvements Project. This was Jeff Batten project. He was the one kind of handling this.
He's gone a month and you're tossing him under the bus.
So I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm saying that Jeff Batten had kind of overseen this project through the design, and now I guess it's been passed along to Carlton and myself to get through the construction phase, the fun part. The village retained McGill Associates to develop design plans for this project. And Shannon, can you pull up those two sheets that are there? I want to make sure everybody's clear on exactly what that is. So that first one there's fine. This is just a little sketch I put together of the engineering plans for this. So this is at the intersection of Magnolia and Chinquapin, and I might need can I have a pointer to show that up there? Will that go? Will it point, or I just want to be able to, or at least the mouse, yeah, can I just use the mouse? Yeah. Thank you, Shannon. Well, okay. So just to give you an idea to make sure we're in the right place here, this is coming up Magnolia if you're coming this way into downtown. You come to this intersection right here, and that is the intersection of Magnolia and Chinquapin. So the Magnolia Inn is on this corner. The wine shop and Eclectic in the Village is on this corner. The Veterans Golf Association is on this corner, and I believe there's a residence on this corner. This project really has three components to it. First one is to turn it into a four-way intersection, a four-way stop intersection. As of right now, you have to stop when you come up Magnolia from this direction. You have to stop when you come from this direction, but it is free-flowing on Chinquapin. And I'm sure you've been up there. As you come up here on Magnolia, it's a little difficult to see when you're looking to the right and when you're looking to the left to see that oncoming traffic here. So the first part of this project was to make it a four-way stop. In order to do that, the design includes these little brick islands. I'm calling them bullbots here, but they're just brick islands because we really don't have a good place to put the stop signs as it is right now. So there's a brick island here kind of out in front of the Magnolia Inn. There's another brick island that would come out here, and it would be landscaped and a place to put the stop signs. The other two corners pretty much remain as is. There's a little bit of rerouting a sidewalk that goes on in front of the Magnolia Inn. But that's generally what would need to be done to make that a four-way stop. The second component of it is this stormwater, and that's the red lines on here. There is a storm box right in front of the wine shop in the little parking area right there. It doesn't drain to anywhere. I mean, it drains and infiltrates into the ground. There is not a pipe that goes anywhere to that other than just the little landscape bed that is right there adjacent to it. It works pretty good in some rainfall events, but when we get some of these, like we've had recently, where we get downpours, pretty significant events in a short amount of time, there are times when it does overload that box there and it goes over the sidewalk. So part of this design actually connects to that box. I really wish we had another stormwater pipe box system close by to connect to. We do not in downtown. There's hardly any stormwater infrastructure in downtown. So this design actually takes it from there, goes across the intersection, and goes down Magnolia Road and actually ties in to a storm box kind of down at the intersection with Dogwood there at the Pinecrest Inn. in front of the Pinecrest Inn.
Are there no other inlets along Magnolia?
There are no other inlets along Magnolia. This was something that was also looked at in pretty significant detail during our stormwater management and master plan. It was actually looked at coming up Chinquapin with it, but the closest place to do that, there was an option of going up and actually going down the alley that goes beside Drum and Quill, but that's all private property. We would have to get easements, and then it would turn and go kind of along the roast office property and eventually end up down by the Village Green parking lot. And that was going to be a lot more expensive than this. So the option that we elected to go with for the drainage improvements was to come down Magnolia Road with this. As we...
Would this add additional inlets along the road?
It does, yes, quite a few. As we do that, you can see kind of right here on Magnolia, there's on-street parking that occurs down in that area. It's not very organized right now. There's no designated spots, and sometimes we get complaints about people parking and blocking driveways and things like that. So in addition to the four-way stop and the stormwater infrastructure, we were going to kind of make that parking a little bit more organized with designated striping in order to make sure people were parking in the correct locations.
And that's below the area that's currently the loading zone, yes?
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah, good point, John. The loading zone is right in this area here, and that remains untouched. And I think there's even one over here, maybe on the other side of Market Square. I'll go back to Jeff. Jeff was really hoping to get this thing in before the U.S. Open and before he left. We sent the project out for bids in January and asked contractors, please, could you get this in for us before the U.S. Open? We didn't get any bids. We got no takers on that. So we kind of just backed up, said, let's wait till after the Open, send it out again. Sent it out a few weeks ago. I sent it to 5 contractors, local contractors who we have worked with, well, who we know are good contractors and have worked in this area before. I got 1 bid back. And there's 2 problems with the bid that I got. Number 1 is the amount of it. So we've got some roll forward money to pay for this project. It was in the FY24 budget. There's $200,000 in the FY25 budget that's allocated to streetscapes and that I think could be used for this if we wanted to. So total available funding with the roll forwards, if we didn't take money from anywhere else, is about $564,000. The 1 bid I got was $1.14 million. That was my reaction too, Pat. Only 1 bid, but significantly over the funding that we currently have available. And the other issue with it is the North Carolina bid laws say if it's more than $500,000, we're supposed to do a formal advertisement process where we actually do an ad and it goes out and anybody can bid on it. We did not do that. I guess I was being optimistic we could come in under $500,000, but that was not the case. So we need to reject the 1 bid that we received, and we need to proceed with, if we want to proceed with this project, we need to re-advertise it or advertise it out during doing the formal bid process. I would suggest that we do that, but when we do that, we actually break the project up into 2 components. The intersection improvements and the storm drainage improvements. The drainage improvements are what's driving the cost up. I mean, it's a lot of pipe. It's a tight area. There's inlets in that area as well. So what I would suggest is we put it out there. Let's get a price. If we only did, and I'm not suggesting we do this, but at least we have that option if we want to. If we only did the intersection improvements, the brick cutouts and created that 4-way stop, what's that going to cost? And okay, if we want to do the rest of it with the drainage improvements too, what's that going to cost?
Will we end up having to dig the street up twice?
If we did it twice, sure, but I think we'll know the numbers for that. I'm just saying.
I'm just asking.
Let's have it both ways if we want to. I am hopeful. I'm optimistic that if we put this out there and give everybody time to and push the construction out, that $1.14 million bid will come down. I had two contractors tell me they were just too busy. I had another one who didn't respond, and I had another one who had some bonding requirements that they should have fixed before we go back out for bids on it. So that's what I would suggest. We go back out, we get both of those numbers. And the other thing, you know, looking at the schedule for this, we were hoping to get it done before the open, then we were maybe hoping to get it done before the fall hit. But just looking at the calendar, I would suggest we put this out and start construction right after the first of the year. I believe that was actually a suggestion, and Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, that some of the downtown businesses had during the listening sessions. Well, could you do it in the winter months? We've got Holly Arts and Crafts, October 19th. We've got Oktoberfest, October 26th downtown. Christmas tree lighting is December 6th. I mean, the fall, and we certainly don't want to be doing this, in my opinion, around Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So my thought would be we give everybody enough time to put their bid together. We tell them we're going to start at the first of the year. And, you know, the risk we run with that is paving the roads back in the cold weather months. You know, we may not be able to pave in January or February. I believe the St. Patrick's Day Parade, if I just looked at the calendar right, would be around March 15th. So I would be hopeful that we could be done before that.
I'd also ask that we talk with the business owners down there that are affected by this.
Sure.
Let's before we decide the time frame.
Absolutely. I think, am I correct, Doug? That was their suggestion when you had met with them before?
Yeah. I'm very much a proponent of this. I think it's a safety issue downtown there. And when I talk to business owners, those cars that sometimes come down there, you know, Chincoquin up towards Ritter there, they come down much faster. It's very apparent.
It's hard to see.
No reason for people to tap their brakes other than they should as they come down there. So I generally like your suggestion. And I certainly do think we ought to try to schedule it where it provides the least amount of complications for the downtown business owners.
Just where in the roadway would the stormwater digging take place, as distinct from building the concrete pillows in order to put the four-way intersection in?
So the way we've got that red line here is where the pipe would go, John. So this is over in front of the wine shop. We would actually have to come out kind of and go right up the middle of the intersection there is what we do. Now, as we go further down Magnolia, it kind of shifts to the right-hand side. Part of the cost here is there's existing utilities. There's a water line in that road. There's a sewer line in that road, and those are the things we know about. So it's tight.
We shouldn't. It doesn't look like we'd have to dig up. If we put the concrete pillows in, we wouldn't have to dig those up to put the water line in. So in that sense, the two projects can be separated.
They could, other than we've got a little box right here because water comes down this curb right now, and so. And maybe we could do something there, put a flume or something underneath there to get that water out. So to your point, yes, you could. I think you could go over on the Magnolia inside and do that and put a stop sign there, and I don't think it impacts the drainage project. This one over here, I think maybe we could get creative with it and not have to dig it up again, but that would be the one spot. There may need to be some additional
Since
work.
you're separating them, do you need to go out for the full and open bid, or can you just go back out the way you went before, since you now think the price would come down under 5?
I would, well, if we separate them, I would still do the full advertisement,
You
I
would,
think,
okay.
because it gives, then we're covered either way, Pat, if it comes in over or under $500,000.
So remind me again, last time we resurfaced these roads?
We resurfaced Chinquapin in October, but we stopped right here in anticipation of this project.
Okay, so we did have the forethought of this.
Oh, yeah.
Good
We
enough.
resurfaced
Okay.
this part of Chinquapin right before the U.S. Open to put these parallel parking spaces in here, and we stopped right here. So you can actually go out there and look at it, and it stopped here, and it stopped here.
So we are not going to have to dig up any roads that we have just recently resurfaced.
That is correct.
Well done.
Now, Magnolia, I think Magnolia was resurfaced It was not, it was before I got here, so I've been here 5.5 years, so it was before that. It's not in terrible
Okay,
condition.
well, Mike,
but
to you and your staff, well done, because this is something that some people would have missed. And I'm glad that you caught this and have saved the village a lot of money. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Mike?
We need a formal direction, or?
I think,
If you're good with our recommendation to put it back out, but separate it to where we've got a price for the islands and then an additional price to do the whole project, that's what I need. We will put that out, and we'll come back to you at some point in the future with options and how we're going to pay for it.
consider you have a green light from the council.
That's what I needed. Thank you very much.
All right. I am going to suggest we take a 7-minute break.
On the calendar, or on the agenda, you have other business than
okay.
movement to adjourn.
Yes. And
I have no other business.
I didn't think so.
I move to adjourn.
Okay. I didn't think any of us had any other business at this point. So we will, I'll take a motion.
I move to adjourn the regular meeting.
Second.
So adopted. Be back in 7 minutes. Thank you.